At 53, Sinach, one of the most beloved and influential voices in modern gospel music, has left fans around the world stunned after making an emotional announcement that no one saw coming. Known for her powerful worship anthems, calm public presence, and unwavering faith, Sinach has always appeared strong, composed, and deeply rooted in purpose. But this time, the celebrated gospel singer could not hold back her tears, and the moment quickly spread across social media, igniting concern, prayers, and heartfelt messages from millions of supporters. For years, Sinach has been a symbol of hope and spiritual strength. Her songs have crossed borders, cultures, and denominations, becoming staples in churches, homes, and worship gatherings worldwide. From Waymaker to countless other worship classics, her music has carried people through grief, uncertainty, and personal battles. Because of this, fans have grown accustomed to seeing Sinach uplift others, rarely imagining a moment where she herself would be so visibly overcome with emotion. The announcement came quietly at first, without flashy promotion or dramatic build-up. During what many expected to be a routine appearance or message, Sinach paused, her voice trembling as emotion took over. As tears filled her eyes, it became immediately clear that this was not just another update or testimony. Something deeply personal, deeply spiritual, and deeply human was unfolding in real time. Witnesses described the moment as raw and unfiltered. Sinach struggled to speak at points, taking pauses to gather herself, her composure slipping in a way fans had rarely seen before. It wasn't theatrical. It wasn't staged. It was the kind of emotion that comes from years of silent endurance, reflection, and inner wrestling. For many watching, it felt as though the woman who had sung them through their darkest nights was finally allowing the world to see her own vulnerability. At 53, Sinach stands at a unique crossroads in her life and career. Decades of ministry, music, and global influence have brought immense blessings, but also immense responsibility. In her emotional message, she reflected on the weight of the journey, the seasons of waiting, and the moments of doubt that often go unseen behind public success. Her tears, far from signaling weakness, seemed to represent release, a laying down of burden she had carried quietly for years. Fans were quick to react. Within minutes, social media platforms were flooded with messages of love, prayer, and gratitude. Many expressed shock, not because Sinach showed emotion, but because they had always assumed she was untouched by the struggles so many of her songs address. Others said the moment made her feel more relatable than ever before, a reminder that even spiritual leaders and gospel icons are human first. What made the announcement heart-stopping for many was not a single dramatic statement, but the depth of emotion surrounding it. Sinach spoke about seasons of transition, about listening closely for divine direction, and about the courage it takes to obey when the future feels uncertain. Though she chose her words carefully, it was clear that she was standing on the edge of a significant personal and spiritual shift. Throughout her career, Sinach has emphasized obedience over comfort. She has often spoken about how some of her most famous songs were born in quiet moments of prayer, not in pursuit of fame or recognition. This announcement felt consistent with that pattern, a moment not designed to shock, but to testify. Yet the emotional intensity made it impossible for audiences to remain unmoved. At 53, many artists focus on legacy, stability, and maintaining what they've built. Sinach, however, seemed to suggest that her journey is far from finished, and that obedience may once again require sacrifice. This idea resonated deeply with longtime followers who have watched her evolve from a worship leader to a global gospel figure, all while maintaining humility and spiritual focus. The gospel music community also responded swiftly. Fellow artists, worship leaders, and pastors shared messages of support, praising Sinach for her honesty and courage. Several noted how rare it is for high-profile gospel figures to publicly acknowledge emotional strain, especially in a culture that often expects spiritual leaders to be endlessly strong. Sinach's tears opened a broader conversation about faith, pressure, and authenticity. Many fans shared their own stories, saying her vulnerability gave them permission to be honest about their struggles. In that sense, the announcement became more than a personal moment. It became a collective one, uniting people across the world in reflection and prayer. There is also a deeper cultural context to Sinach's moment. As gospel music continues to grow globally, artists like Sinach carry the expectations of millions. They are not only musicians but spiritual representatives, often held to impossible standards. Her emotional announcement subtly challenged those expectations, reminding the world that faith does not eliminate pain. It helps us walk through it. Despite the tears, there was no sense of despair in Sinach's message. Instead, there was clarity, peace, and resolve. She spoke about trust, about letting go, and about stepping forward even when the path is unclear. For many listeners, this balance of emotion and faith made the moment even more powerful. As the video and excerpts continue to circulate, fans are still speculating about what exactly lies ahead. Is Sinach entering a new season of ministry? Is she stepping back to rest? Is she preparing for a major life or career transition? While she did not provide all the answers, the openness of her announcement has only deepened public interest and concern. What remains undeniable is the impact of the moment. In just a few minutes, Sinach reminded the world why her voice matters. Not just her singing voice, but her voice as a believer, a woman, and a human being. At 53, she showed that faith does not mean having everything figured out. It means trusting even when tears fall. For longtime supporters, the announcement felt like an invitation to pray more intentionally for the woman who has prayed through song for so many. For newer fans, it offered a powerful introduction to the depth behind the music, and for the wider gospel community, it served as a sobering reminder that spiritual leadership comes with unseen cost. Sinach has always said that worship is not about performance, but about surrender. In this tearful, heart-stopping moment, she lived that truth in front of the world. No stage lights, no polished perfection, just honesty, faith, and the courage to be vulnerable. As the days unfold, one thing is certain: whatever Sinach's announcement ultimately leads to, it has already left a lasting mark. At 53, she has once again ministered, not through melody alone, but through truth, humility, and tears that spoke louder than words. And perhaps that is why the moment shocked fans so deeply. Not because Sinach was breaking down, but because in doing so, she lifted countless others up. As the initial shock of Sinach's tearful announcement continues to ripple across the gospel world, many fans are beginning to reflect more deeply on what her moment truly represents. Beyond headlines and speculation, her tears have opened a window into the often unseen emotional life of those who lead others in faith. For years, Sinach has been a spiritual anchor for millions, yet her recent vulnerability revealed that even the strongest voices sometimes need space to breathe, heal, and listen. Observers close to the gospel music scene note that Sinach's timing is significant. At 53, she is not stepping into uncertainty without experience, rather, she is responding to it with wisdom shaped by decades of ministry. Her words, though gentle, carry the weight of discernment, suggesting a season not of ending, but of redirection. Many believe this moment marks a spiritual recalibration rather than a retreat. Fans have also pointed out how rare it is to see such honesty from a figure of her stature. In a world where public figures often present carefully controlled narratives, Sinach's tears felt disarming. They cut through assumptions that faith leaders are immune to exhaustion, grief, or internal struggle. Instead, she modeled something profoundly biblical: strength expressed through surrender. The emotional response has not slowed. Churches across different continents have reportedly paused during services to pray specifically for Sinach, thanking God for her ministry and asking for clarity and peace over her next steps. Worship leaders have shared testimonies of how her songs sustained them during personal trials, saying her recent openness only deepened their respect and love for her. There is also growing conversation about rest within ministry, something Sinach has quietly advocated in the past. Her announcement has reignited dialogue around burnout, emotional health, and the pressure placed on gospel artists to constantly pour out without pause. Many now see her tears not as a sign of weakness, but as a prophetic moment calling for balance and renewal within faith communities. Despite widespread speculation, Sinach has maintained grace and restraint, choosing not to overshare. This has only amplified the sincerity of her message. Rather than drawing attention to herself, she redirected focus toward trust in God's timing and purpose. For fans accustomed to instant answers, this patience felt countercultural, but deeply aligned with her lifelong message of faith. What stands out most is the peace that followed her tears. Those who watched closely noticed a quiet resolve in her demeanor, as though the release of emotion cleared space for renewed conviction. It was a reminder that faith journeys are not linear, and that obedience sometimes requires stepping into the unknown with nothing but trust. As anticipation builds around what comes next, whether a new musical direction, a shift in ministry focus, or a season of rest, one thing remains unchanged: Sinach's influence. Her legacy is not defined solely by chart-topping worship songs, but by moments like this, when authenticity ministers louder than melody. At 53, Sinach has once again led not by performance, but by example. In allowing the world to witness her tears, she gave permission for others to acknowledge their own. And in doing so, she reminded everyone that faith is not the absence of emotion, but the courage to bring every emotion honestly before God.